was a lesson from a couple of days ago. A Course in Miracles. The light has come. I think it's not for explaining. I think it's just for experiencing it however you did. So I sent out the text this morning to say to contribute. I was asking for donations, Glenn. Not really. Not really. So the idea of contribution, the idea of making a contribution to life, a contribution to all of those around us. This is really actually where our fulfillment comes from. The quote from A Course in Miracles says, our function is our happiness. Our function is our happiness. It goes on to explain a little bit more. It says it a couple different ways. It says our function is forgiveness. And then another part it says, we are here to be truly helpful. We are here to do the will of He who sent us. And all of these, there's some other references to it. The idea of contribution, the idea of giving freely to life, and could make like a big, huge we could make a big prosperity talk about this. We could make a prosperity church about this, and they seem to be quite successful. I actually believe in these principles that as we give, we do receive. But if the receiving is the motivation for the giving, then it's really not so good. And so we come to understand that we take the joy in the giving itself, and then we notice that we get all sorts of other things kind of as a bonus. So we're always receiving. We're always receiving. This is what's going on. I mentioned this a couple of times before about this. The quote that says it's more blessed to give than to receive. But the problem, if you just take that literally, is that you can't give anything that you haven't already received. So you had to have gotten it somewhere. So the point of this the whole talk is that we are receiving all the time. We're receiving the good of the universe. These great things are flowing to us all the time. And if we're feeling like we've been cut off from this supply of abundance or prosperity, it's not because God's mad at us. It's not because, as some of the prosperity evangelists will say, it's not because you're not praying correctly. It's not because you didn't send your little $10 in to the guy on TV. It's because we're not paying attention. It's because we're not watching for the opportunities for good that come. The idea of contributing, we give what we have, and it's really not even so much about material things. When we notice that, first, just to think about this, I love the idea that the basic gratitude comes from noticing that we're alive. Have the basic gratitude for life. And to try to maintain that sense of thankfulness. And then from that, it becomes easier and easier just to give. But there are a couple things that I'm gonna tell you a story about a prosperity class that I went to, and we went further with it. But anyway, the church that I was being trained in, it was Unity of Chicago. They had a prosperity class where the premise went like this: you make a commitment to contribute 10% of everything that you take in money-wise. And at the end of the class, if you're not totally satisfied with what came back to you, you could have all your money back. And everybody would sign an agreement. Everybody would sign an agreement that you'd give 10%, and then at the end of the class, if you were not happy about what you received, you get all your money back. And people, it was such a popular class in the church that when people introduced themselves, people who had been to the class before, they would introduce themselves by their name, and they would say their name, and they would say, "And I am prosperous." It was like a tagline. It was like they were part of the 12-step group. And they would say their name, and they would say they were prosperous. And so I went to the class, and the class was very interesting. It was really, we did it here too. We brought it back here. Andy participated. But they used the 12 steps as part of this prosperity class. So I went through the class, and I give them my 10%, and I was, wow. In the midst of the class, our business failed, and I lost all of my investment money. And of course, business failed, no investment money, and I'm unemployed. In the midst of the class, this is what happened. And so I told the minister who was running the class, I said, just to let you know, I'm probably going to be asking for a refund at the end of the class. And he said, well, it's fine. There's no problem. This is what we do. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's fine. And I kept going to the class. And before the class ended, I had another job that actually, the other job that I got paid me more money than I was making with the company. Now, still, I didn't recoup all my investment money because I had all the equity that I had in the company. But it was pretty clear that I was going to be cared for. And this is the thing that I've always found, and so many people, there's so many people in the class that had all kinds of things happen, not just money show up and things like that, but opportunities come into their life. All sorts of things happen. And we had like 30 people in the class, and there was not one person at the end of the class that asked for, now, not one person asked for their money back at the end of the class. But I understood from the very beginning there's a psychological barrier to actually asking for your money back once you've given it, right? And I'm sure the people who designed the class, they know that too. But if somebody really looked at that total at the end and really thought they didn't get what they wanted, I would think that a few people would ask, and nobody asked. Nobody asked. But I was told that from time to time, some people do. So now, here's the principle. The principle is that if we learn to give, we get into the flow of the universe. If we learn to give, we get into the flow of the universe, and things come to us in kind of a natural way. And when we're afraid to give, we're also, that same fear is symptomatic of the rest of the fear that's in our that's in our life that makes it harder for us to take opportunities or even to recognize when they come, because we've closed ourselves off. We're too worried. So here, the issue is very simple. The issue of the reason we don't give freely is because we don't think we have enough. It's like really simple. We don't think we have enough. And we have fear. Not only do we have fear that we're not going to get what we need, but we also have fear that which we have may be taken away. And so, it's kind of tied up in our genetic structure. It's part of the body's defense mechanism to make sure that it's fed, right? And it just kind of spills over into other areas. But what I found was when I just started giving freely, then things just happened. So I'll just tell you about my experiences about this. When I have given, as far as financially, when I've given freely financially, I have always had plenty. When I get worried about it and stop doing it, I don't. Now, there's another problem here. Sometimes we give inappropriately. And I have my own personal experiences that I have given financially in ways that weren't actually helpful to people, but actually made people dependent. That didn't turn out so well. And I don't feel like I feel like the only thing I got out of that was expectations and no reward. It's very tricky. And so, I'm not going to talk anymore about money, because money is, listen, I'm just going to say this. There's plenty of money out there. And there's all kinds of ways to get that money. But when we get into the flow of things, that which we have need of just kind of naturally arrives. But I do want to talk about contributing. I do want to talk about giving to life. To this idea that first, I do have enough. I have enough. There is enough. I don't have to worry about it. So I'm not going to take anything that's not freely given. And in this case, I may be talking somewhat about money, but I may be talking about, just outright, first, of course, right on the surface, I'm not going to steal anything, all right? But the other part of that is I'm not going to trick anybody into giving me something that really they're not freely giving. And more than that, I'm not going to manipulate somebody into giving me their approval or their affection if it's not freely given. I'm going to let people be and let them do that which they're guided to do. I am not going to do things for other people that they should be doing for themselves. I'm stopping it. I'm stopping it. So I think I've said this before. Holy cow, man, it's such a hard thing. It's such a hard thing to stop doing. And I'm not going to ask other people to do things for me that I should be doing for myself. That's hard too. I would rather just sit in the chair and say, please bring me that soda. Right? I forgot the ketchup. Could you get it for me? This is not actually contributing, right? So, our selfish taking is motivated by this sense of not enough, and it continues because of our feeling of never enough. When we're selfish in our taking and not concerned with giving, we never are satisfied. It just never fills us up. Greed feeds on everything that we consume and is still not satisfied. But we can change it. We can change how we feel by starting with gratitude. To have gratitude instead of to be coveting, instead of to be running around all over the place saying, if only this or that or the other thing, then I'd be okay. To just start from that point of let me be grateful for what I have and where I am right now. And all of us, no matter what kind of situation we find ourselves in, we can always find something to be grateful for. And if we can start with that, and we can be fulfilled in the place of greed. And then through gratitude we give, we share that which we have. And thankful giving just actually fulfills us. So we give, but we do not give indiscriminately. We try to have Spirit give us some instruction as to how we should give. The Course in Miracles has a line in it that says, "To have all, give all to all." I remember well over 30 years ago, the first time I read that. To have all, give all to all. I thought, man, there's no way this is some kind of socialist book. I mean, what are they talking about right now? We're going to turn around and give everything. Then if you give everything, how are you going to have it? Once you give it, it's gone, right? It's gone. But it wasn't talking about stuff. You could apply it to stuff. But it wasn't talking about stuff. It was talking about when it said to have all, give all to all. It was saying to give all of yourself. To give your entire self to life. So that would mean that I'm going to bring everything I can to the community. I'm going to participate. I'm going to add my whole self to the combined efforts of our fellows. I'm going to stop thinking that this idea of giving everything, it's even scary. Actually, after a little while, the idea of giving my whole self to something is scarier than giving my bank account to somebody. Because what am I doing now? I'm opening myself up. I'm becoming vulnerable. I'm saying I'm investing. I'm totally investing myself in this thing. But then I start to then and I go, wow, man, if I just want, I'm going to be totally burnt. I'm going to not have enough time. I'm going to be totally burnt out. But here's the thing. When we actually give ourselves to something that we love, when we actually give ourselves into this help that we enjoy, we never get burnt out. It just keeps growing in us. And the other thing is, it says, give all to all. Well, are we not part of all? So I mean, myself, I'm asking myself the question. Am I not part of all? And the ego says, no, all is over there. You're over here. But no, I am part of it. I am part of the all of everything, right? So then that means that if I'm giving all to all, I'm actually giving all to me too. I mean, I'm included. I'm in it. I'm in the midst of it, right? So then I realize that since I'm part of all, that I can't lose by giving, because I'm giving to myself as well as to everyone else. And it really isn't concerned so much with material goods, it's this idea of, okay, so this is it. If I want more love, if I feel unloved in life, if I want more love, I need to give more love. I just need to be loving. When I'm loving, then I realize and I feel that I am loved. If I feel like I'm not being accepted, probably because I'm judgmental of others and I need to give people more acceptance. As I accept people as they are, I find, oh, what happened? All of a sudden, people are accepting me as I am. So, but the concept of giving all is greater than this. It's this grand ideal. It's just like this absolute, to give all of ourselves without holding anything back, to invest our whole self into service. It seems risky, but in truth, this is the investment that pays the greatest dividends. So we're on this path. We're on this spiritual path, and I found this quote from Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, and he says, "Not I, nor anyone else can travel that road for you. You must travel it by yourself. It's not far. It is within your reach. So our spiritual path is our own, and we have to we can't take on the beliefs of somebody else because they sound good. This is what Buddha told people all the time. Do not believe what I say to you just because I say it. Try it. See how it works for you. And if it works for you, use it. So this is the idea, to say we're on a spiritual path just because our mother was on that path, or because somebody who we admire is talking about these certain set of rules or principles or whatever. This is not good enough. We have to travel it by ourselves. We take the steps along the path by our own volition. If we try to do things for the reasons of others, we will stray from our own way. We've already seen that approval-seeking behavior is never satisfied anyway. We know this from our own experience over and over again. So we've established our own view, our own belief, our own path. And this is essential to our spiritual unfoldment. All of the great teachers of the past have instructed us to listen to the teachings and then try them out. Just try them out. We want to investigate and experience. And this is about experience. And that's why I was talking about in the meditation. There's too much explaining gets in the way. And then it just becomes an intellectual exercise. I want to experience it. I also realize that this is my path. This is my spiritual path. And I'm walking it. I am making these decisions to walk down this spiritual path. But I'm not alone. I'm not alone on the path. Everyone's actually on the path. But I have to do what I have to do. In other words, I have to put one foot in front of the other. So in the wedding ceremony that we do here at One Spirit, there's 12 instructions in the wedding ceremony, and the seventh one says, shoulder your share of the burden, but be not afraid to ask for help. And that's really talking about self-support. This is the essence of it, the essence of self-support, that we take up our burdens to the best of our ability. We're going to contribute to life doing this. We're going to bring energy to bear in our responsibilities with the full intention of accomplishing the task. However, it's important to remember that we're not alone. We are not alone in this thing. And ego, here's what ego wants to do. Ego wants to take on the burdens that it cannot support and then blame someone else when things go wrong. I'm carrying the weight of the world right now. So it's better to get the help when we need it. Better to get the help. To work independently when it is best, but then to come together interdependently when that is what is called for. Because we know when we try to avoid something, it should be evident that this will never in any way relieve the burden. So we do what's ours to do. This is our contribution. Each and every one of us have all these talents and abilities. They're only temporary. Right now we're like we're like the facets on a gem. Each one of us an individual facet on the gem. That you could say that this is a gem of life. And our facet has a particular characteristic, a particular beauty to it. And our job is to contribute that beauty, that gift, back to the world. That's enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You can talk back now.
want and I'm blessed.
Brett.
When you said that about people saying, and I am prosperous,
Yeah.
it made me think about how at times